A move to more balanced diets could help us adapt to and limit climate change.
So here's the lowdown from the UN's International Panel on Climate Change. The way humans produce food now, a climate disaster, destroying the land. And we are everywhere. They say humans use about 3/4 of all the ice-free surfaces in the world, and that agriculture accounts for 70% of all freshwater use.
We have a very stark choice. We either change our food system to manage all the coming challenges, or we suffer the consequences, which will be periods of great food insecurity.
So what to do? Well, the report says reduce deforestation, reduce food waste, but here's the part that may really hit home for you. Reduce the amount of meat and dairy you eat. The reason? Raising animals for food creates far more emissions than you might think. According to one Japanese study, the production of one hamburger creates as much greenhouse gas as driving a car for 320 kilometers. So the UN is calling on food producers and consumers to make changes. But as Alison Northcott reports, some Canadian farmers already have.
Now, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to keep our soil quality in the best shape we can.
Saskatchewan farmer John Bennett practices what's called zero-till farming.
If we till ground too much, we turn it into flour, and it has no ability to resist water erosion or soil erosion.
He says the process helps protect his land and livelihood and has another benefit too.
We do a tremendous job in terms of atmospheric integrity by capturing CO2 from the atmosphere and storing it in our soils.
That's one measure the UN report suggests to help reduce the impact food production has on the planet.
Have to run a balance between, shall we say, environmental stewardship and economic production or food production.
Werner Kurtz is one of the report's lead authors. He says Canada has one of the highest per capita emissions rates in the world, but there are many things Canadians can do.
Whether that is through improved sustainable land management, improved sustainable forest management, or the consumption of food, reduction of food waste, changes in diets, more plant-based, more grain-based, and less high emissions meat protein-based. All of these activities influence the emissions from our behavior.
The report says cutting meat consumption eases pressure on land and water resources, but the Canadian Cattlemen's Association says it is a leader in sustainable beef production and says cutting down on meat is not the solution.
In Canada, we're one of the most efficient producers of beef cattle, which is why we have one of the lowest footprints in the world.
Environmental groups say Canada should heed the report's warnings about land use.
We cannot take these natural ecosystems for granted. We have to work hard to protect them because they will be the systems that both help us adapt to some of the impacts of climate change.
She hopes the report will lead to more commitments from world leaders meeting at a UN climate summit next month. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.